Yeah, so I mean, I don't really know how to start it, but I wanted to talk a little bit about my trip to Mongolia with Husqvarna Motorcycles. This trip was last year. It was the launch of the Husqvarna Norden 901, so it's like a expedition style motorcycle. Husqvarna came to Toast, my video production company, with my partners in Switzerland, and they said, we need to make a new film about our new bike and what it can do. And the reason we chose Mongolia was, I don't know, I didn't choose it, but I was happy to be on the project. But it was chosen because it's a very rural country. It's the second most rural country in the world, maybe the first. I'm not sure about that. Mongolia is a beautiful country. It's varied in the landscapes. The people are nomadic. They travel around, they follow the herds and the livestock. So it's really a beautiful country culturally as well as for an adventure. So we teamed up with our friend Max Munch, who has a tourism company called Follow the Tracks. And Max was kind of our expedition leader and fixer on the ground. Max created the itinerary, the locations that we were going to go to. So once we had the cast, which was Mike and Cyril, we then assembled the crew, and the crew comprised of the Toast team. My role in the project was to DP, but also to help run audio, as well as managing and dumping footage. So I was really in the process of shooting, getting the dynamic shots, the product shots, second camera for Antoine, and then also audio. So that's really key elements. So yeah, that was our crew on an expedition style shoot. When you're planning a shoot in a trip and it involves a lot of travel, you want to make sure that each piece of kit and each piece of equipment and clothes has a purpose. And one thing that I have found is that clothes can be reworn. If you wear really good materials like some kind of wool, stretch breathable wool, you can wear that for multiple days in a row. This Patagonia shirt is made of like some kind of wool, but you can wear this for a week and you're not going to smell. Something that I do is I pack a really big bag. It's North Face's biggest bag, and I compartmentalize that bag. So what I do is I take my clothes in a small North Face bag, a small North Face duffel, and I just fill that with clothes. Another compartment is going to have my sleep gear. So it's going to be my sleeping bag, my sleep pillow. So the sleep pillow is super important. Even for traveling, that thing went with me everywhere. The biggest point there is you can rewear clothes. On an expedition, doesn't really matter about the clothes. You're going to be stinky. Try to minimize the clothes. You'll minimize the decisions you'll have to make in the morning when you're like, oh, what should I wear today? It's usually just the same thing. And then power. You want to make sure that you have a really good power solution. So researching any power needs that you have going into it, make sure you have the right converters, because when you come back after a really long day, 10, 12 hours, the most important things you do is, besides eating, is dumping your footage and making sure things are charged. So in addition to dumping some of my footage, I would also give it to Antoine. The director would back up the footage for the day. So now that we have kind of like the organization fundamentals down for traveling, packing, being organized on a production in a remote location. So next, what's really important is the equipment. On an expedition style shoot, in a place like Mongolia, when you're shooting motorcycles, you're moving around a lot. It's very run and gun style documentary, so not all of our locations were kind of picked out beforehand. So what's really important is that you know your gear really well. So you don't want to be kind of messing around with your equipment or learning a new piece of equipment on a shoot like this. That is the worst thing you could do. The rule of thumb when working with new equipment, especially on a shoot, is you only add one piece of new kit per shoot. In our case, I was really on the Ronin, and the Ronin with the red Komodo. This system is great. I love using the Komodo. I love the red system, the red color. And we ran into a situation
where I had to basically use autofocus lenses. So I kind of relied on this shoot, which is a pretty big commercial style shoot. I ended up using Canon EF lenses because there was so much movement and play in the motorcycles from the moving vehicles, and I did not have an AC to pull focus for me. What I ended up doing after the first day is I put on the 85 mil and I turned on the autofocus on the Komodo, and man, this thing absolutely ripped. It saved my life on this shoot. And I was able to shoot at 85 mil, stabilized, f2 or f1.4, and I was nailing the shot. But the first 2 days were real pain, I would say, in learning how to adapt to that situation. If I were to do it over again, I would probably go with a system more like the Ronin 4D, something that's a little bit more all-encompassing. It has autofocus. It'd be easy to say, okay, I'm going to go to, I'm shooting on this big commercial. It's a great project, but the problem is that you can get really in a bad place fast with too much equipment. It'll get in the way. It will ruin your ability to be creative and to move fast. That is the most important thing you can do on a shoot like this, is to move fast. So that's why Zoom is really good. There's a director, Richard Ledcani. He's also done Sea of Shadows. He's done Ivory Game. So these are really documentary run and gun focused films. And he shot most of those on a Canon 24-105. I would say also a prime. If you can take a 50 and 85, those will cover your bases for like 90% of shots. No one is going to care when you have a story to tell, you have a moment to capture. So having that zoom, honestly, is really the best. It's actually kind of my favorite style of filmmaking. Beyond the lenses and the gear and all that stuff, it's really important that you just know your equipment, you know your gear, and you're able to just be in the moment and be present and not have to worry about the equipment. That's a huge part of this kind of like expedition style shooting. The biggest piece of advice I think I have when shooting with locals, native people of the country, especially if they don't speak the same language, is to be courteous and be respectful. You're in their home country. You often are maybe invited into their home as well. Like we were literally invited into the home of Mongolian family, and they fed us actually a lamb they had just slaughtered outside, and they use everything. They use all of the guts, they use the liver, the intestines, the stomach, and they cooked it up for us. What I'm trying to take away from this is really be courteous to the locals, especially if they want to feed you. Please try the food at a place that you go, and it'll make the locals really happy. Also, when you're trying to shoot with locals, if you want to get them on camera, the biggest thing is what I like to call the smile test. So if you're not speaking the same language, it's great to approach them in a friendly manner. Often just give a smile. Sometimes a bit of a smile will help them relax and they'll ease up. And even if I have a video camera, I still kind of act like it's a photo camera, because video can kind of be intimidating. So usually people will pose acting like it's a photo, and I'll just record video. So with that, this was my first explanation of what I know about filmmaking. Always learning, and the style of shooting is changing every job that I do. But really, I think it's important to be confident in your abilities and be kind. I think that's two of the best pieces of advice I can give you when going on one of these expedition style shoots. So we'll see you next time.